The news tonight is out of Washington, where the nation is on the brink of fiscal crisis, just 1 week away from the August 2nd deadline. There's the clock. The showdown over the national debt spilled over into primetime television tonight in dueling addresses by President Obama and House Speaker John Boehner. With 1 week to go until the United States of America runs out of money to pay its debts, the world watched as the Democratic president and the Republican Speaker of the House hurled accusations at each other.
For the past several weeks, Republican House members have essentially said that the only way they'll vote to prevent America's first ever default is if the rest of us agree to their deep spending cuts only approach.
And the sad truth is that the president wanted a blank check 6 months ago, and he wants a blank check today. This is just not going to happen.
A presidential address to the nation.
It was a primetime blame game. President Obama argued that Republicans just won't compromise, refusing to raise a dime of tax revenues to solve this crisis because they care more about rich people and big corporations than they do about ordinary Americans.
Most Americans, regardless of political party, don't understand how we can ask a senior citizen to pay more for her Medicare before we ask a corporate jet owner or the oil companies to give up tax breaks that other companies don't get. How can we ask a student to pay more for college before we ask hedge fund managers to stop paying taxes at a lower rate than their secretaries? How can we slash funding for education and clean energy before we ask people like me to give up tax breaks we don't need and didn't ask for?
Speaker Boehner responded by holding firm to the GOP line, no new taxes.
The president has often said we need a balanced approach, which in Washington means we spend more and you pay more. Having run a small business, I know those tax increases will destroy jobs.
The two men have worked for months, golfing, meeting in public and private, to get a deal. They seem to have struck up a genuine working relationship, like those days of yore in Washington when President Reagan and Speaker of the House Tip O'Neill did business together. But times have changed. You could hear that tonight in the president's refusal to accept a short-term solution because, he argued, Republicans will just play this game again.
Again, they will refuse to ask the wealthiest Americans to give up their tax cuts or deductions. Again, they will demand harsh cuts to programs like Medicare. And once again, the economy will be held captive unless they get their way. This is no way to run the greatest country on earth.
President Obama has struggled on this issue, trying to use the bully pulpit of his office again and again.
We should not even be this close to a deadline. Where's the leadership? Or, alternatively, how serious are you actually about debt and deficit reduction? The parties are still far apart on a wide range of issues.
And again, 6 times this month. Tonight, he tried to rally his audience to pressure Congress into a deal.
So I'm asking you all to make your voice heard. If you want a balanced approach to reducing the deficit, let your member of Congress know.
Speaker Boehner seized his moment in the spotlight tonight to sum up the GOP approach with a pithy statement he later tweeted.
The solution to this crisis is not complicated. If you're spending more money than you're taking in, you need to spend less of it.
But as markets increasingly fret about this dispute and a crisis of unknown dimensions looms, polls show Americans are sick of the whole Washington scene, a bitterness and disgust President Obama tried to capture and play to.
But do you know what people are fed up with most of all? All they see is the same partisan three-ring circus here in Washington. They see leaders who can't seem to come together and do what it takes to make life just a little bit better for ordinary Americans. They're offended by that, and they should be.
So the bottom line in Washington as another heat wave settles in, no sign of a deal, and the clock is ticking. And we're joined now by ABC's senior White House correspondent, Jake Tapper. Jake, you're one of the most astute observers of Washington that I know. What did you make of what we saw tonight?
Well, it was a play act of the dysfunction that those of us who have been covering this and watching this for the last month have seen. A president who envisions himself to be fighting for the little guy and seeking a fair and balanced approach, talking about how he wants to work with the House Speaker and the Speaker wants to work with him, but it's these recalcitrant Republican House members, these freshmen, who are causing the problem.
Well, let me ask you about that. This is a relationship that has developed over months, as we've seen. Is this a sign that it's Splitsville between Obama and Boehner?
I don't think so. I think the President and Speaker Boehner have a decent relationship. In the same way, oddly enough, Vice President Biden and House Majority Leader Eric Cantor have a good working relationship and seem to like each other. But on this issue, there just really doesn't seem to be much middle ground.
And briefly, what's the talk down there? How does this thing end?
This is the most bizarre thing, Terry. You and I are old hats in this town at this point. I have never seen it this dysfunctional, and I ask people on all sides, how is this going to end? Nobody knows. Everybody's confident that something will happen before August 2nd, but nobody can tell you what it will be. And to tell you the truth, it's a little dispiriting to cover, even though as a reporter I enjoy it. As an American, it's a little depressing.
Yeah, that's for sure, and the clock is ticking. Jake Tapper, American and correspondent at the White House. Thanks.